係咯，我去過嘅錢啊！
Bother you?
Don't waste yourself.
What's your style?
My style? You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
The art of fighting without fighting? Show me some of it.
Later. All right?
係咯，我去過嘅錢啊！
Do I bother you?
Don't waste yourself.
What's your style?
My style? You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
The art of fighting without fighting? Show me some of it.
Later. All right?
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on, right on. And it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they've died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saying 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin. They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu, all white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 ones before me. There are only 2 possible explanations. There were 5 ones before me. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to fucking You can't make me do anything like my friend!
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I
was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true.
I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? It knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, Brother Greg, you coming by today? And I said, Malcolm, I love you. And I said, I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there. He said, what do you mean, Brother Greg? I said, well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East. And I said, but I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get two of us for the price of one. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government going to get you.
Hey, how y'all doing this evening? This is your host, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, coming with another live show. I want to thank those who out here who came to see tonight, whether you're agents, subscribers, or passerbys. You know, I'm Mr. Blows Your Mind. This show is always dedicated to the view, the scene, the landscape, the picture, the aspect, where the earth meets the sky, the angle, the slant, the turns of minds, where one is coming from, the spirit, and see a value. As a descendant of the greatest people that ever been produced in this United States, the descendants of slaves, I ask that my ancestors be with my heart, mind, and spirit as I disseminate the truth, no matter where it hides, because guess what? The truth needs no partner. What's going on with y'all tonight? And those who may be hearing the taping later, I took a couple of days off. There was some things that was happening, so I had to get into some other things. But breaking news happened. I want to get this sister that just won in Massachusetts for y'all, for those who probably didn't hear. There was a sister named Ayanna Pressley who defeated the 10-term congressman in Massachusetts race. Tonight she just won. The Boston City Council member Ayanna Pressley defeated a 10-term incumbent Tuesday to win the Democratic nomination for Massachusetts' 7th congressional district, an upset building on the Monumento for the progressive spark by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez victory in New York House primary earlier this summer. Representative Michael Capano, for Democrat from Massachusetts, conceded to Pressley on Tuesday evening. With no Republicans on November's ballot for the district, Pressley is all but guaranteed to make history as the first black congresswoman from Massachusetts. Pressley, 44, already broke barriers in 2009 when she became the first woman of color elected to Boston City Council. Capano first won his House seat back in 1998. 7th District encompasses most of Boston and much of Cambridge. Facing an uphill battle against Capano, a poll for radio station WBUR showed her tallying him by 13% points a month ago. Pressley campaigned on and the need to change the House status quo. Quote, she says, I've been told to wait my turn, Pressley said at a campaign event earlier this year. I've been called a traitor for challenging an incumbent, told simply, "This isn't the way things are done here." But she added, "When the challenges are confronted with all this big, this deep and growing, I can't and I won't wait my turn," is what she said. Those rallying to her calls included Ocasio-Cortez, the political newcomer, thrust into the national spotlight when she upended veteran Rep. Joe Crowley, a House Democratic leader in New York's June 26 primary. Fresh from her win, Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, "Vote her in next, Massachusetts," referring to Presley. Presley campaign had dispatched staffers to aid Ocasio-Cortez get out the vote effort, and Presley had called the New Yorkers "my sister in change." And I won't go on no further on that, but I did want to do it because I was breaking news as I was getting in. That sister, who is from Chicago, I think she's about 44 years old, coming from the city of Chicago, and to take out a 10-year incumbent, that just goes to show that things are, for those who are believing that politics is a way to do things, people are making strides to get out there and do what they need to do. If that's your thing, then that's what you do. Now, me being a whiteologist, I look at things a little bit different. You know, I look at it for what it is. You can go out there and vote, and if that's going to change and it's going to make you happy, do what you got to do. But that'll be another topic for another show, and the reason why I myself may have a different opinion on that. But congratulations to that sister. And, you know, and we had the brother that's in Florida. So it seems like this might be where a lot of the scare is coming from. They're seeing that our people are trying to now get into the political arena, to get into where the laws are, and to make some changes that we may benefit. So we see, and once again, want to give congratulations to that sister for winning tonight. Let's see what I want to get into. I got some things I want to get into. I didn't really title this show because I'm just going to probably go, you know, I got a theme that I want to go with, but as a title, I probably title it after the fact. But let's see where I want to go. Let's see. Again, like I said, there's so much been going on. And matter of fact, before I go any further, let me make sure somebody give me a mic check out there. Let me know if my mic sound nice. Give me a 1. Give me a 1 if you see my mic sound nice. Do I need to do some adjustments or anything like that? Because I got videos I want to show. And was my video clear? You know my intro. You know how I do it, man. My intros. Homemade, homegrown, all skills and talents. Right? So can I get somebody out there who listening? I see a few people out there. Somebody give me a 1. Let me know that my mic sounds nice. So let's see. What we want to get on to. All right. So we see that the spirit of this country is seen to be always having that racial element, right? That there's always seemed to be the themes we're hearing, even in these political races. We're hearing we're monkeying around, and I mean we having people saying all kinds of crazy things that seem to say then after they said they think they can apologize, right? As if everything is okay. Well, it's okay that you said what was on your heart, but then you change your mind because the backlash that you're getting. So what is it in people that feel like they need to always feel the need to throw a shot at black people? Even those people who are seen to be black, is again the saying is, every person of my color is not my kin, right? And it seems that like everybody throws a shot at the DOS of this nation. Now, what do you mean by that DOS, Mr. Blows Your Mind? What I'm saying is that those are the descendants who are of the soil of the South, who gave the sweat, blood, and tears to what you call the greatest country on this planet. The one that everybody gets to ride off the back and they get none. You understand? They the ones that give you their extras. You know what I'm saying? They'll give you their sandwich. They'll let you walk over the rain in their coat, but everybody takes shots at them. But nobody seems to know why that is. So tonight, I decided I'm going to try to put a little theme together based on, again, like today we have people who they don't do polls like they used to do polls back in the day. It was to poll people, to ask them certain things, not about the political stuff, but about race, right? They would ask them, like, what do you feel about the niggers, right? They would do shit like that. What the fuck do you feel about the niggers? And, you know, these people would be honest. Now, the thing is, let's look at it this way. If we're talking about political, like the sister that won tonight, that I just gave y'all the information on, you will have the newer generation who will say that the old school dropped the ball as into not preparing and leaving inheritance and setting a way or a path for you. Is that really true? Yes, you can look at people and see the destitute of your people and see that a lot of people who are older and because of what they've gone through. And I will always tell you the 80s is the modern. It is the 80s that set the president, what you see today, and the offspring that you see is what took place in that mid-80s. And after going through that crack epidemic, it's kind of like Hiroshima and Nagasaki with the bombs being dropped in Japan. Well, that was dropped here. The Hiroshima of the United States was what happened in the 80s. And the byproducts is what you're seeing in a lot of these cities of this dysfunctionalness. But everybody kind of act like they don't know that. So they didn't drop the ball, but the point that needs to be made is this. When you look at so-called civil rights, right, you see the civil rights that took place. And look at the time frame that civil rights comes in. They say 64, then they implemented 65, right? 64 voting right? Which is also going to be 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments is also going to be instituted, right? But the same year or right after 65, the immigration comes in. So soon as you get this, right, they open the back door and say, well, let them come in. Now, I'm not against anybody who just happen to be having descendants that come from other lands outside of the United States. But again, the disrespect that I see that a lot of people from a lot of other nations, and some of them, again, skin that is not of our kin, but we do have kinship as into ancestry. But when it comes to direct, everybody seems to want to be talking about like they know our plight and they could tell us what it is. But you ain't put no sweat, blood, and tears here. So you kind of don't have, in my opinion, for you to be sitting in the front to be talking, right? But you have a lot of people who advocate and talk on behest of their own opinion about things that they should be just sitting in the cut. You can be you can have an alliance, but you cannot lead. And a lot of you take advantage of it. A lot of you in the corners of your own people, you talk and you have these things, or you feel like you're better than. But then these other people who we've always had this relationship with since we've been here. The question becomes, what is it in them that they always felt like, well, whatever took place, and that's your problem. The reason why you're in the condition that you are is because you don't work hard. You don't want anything, right? So I'm going to pull this video up. I will elaborate after the fact. You know how I do. For those who know my work, you know how I do. Only difference is this is going to be live, right? It's only going to be live. So let me see if I can get this going. See if I can pull the right one up first. And I got several that I'm going to do tonight, but I'm going to make sure I got the right one. Make sure I got the right one here. Let's see. That's a funny thing about this thing here. We have stuff all set up, but then when it's time to go, you know what I'm saying, I'm still fighting a little bit of this, y'all, because I took that hiatus. and I haven't quite got back into the groove yet, but it's getting there. Let me see where I'm at. Because I got a couple things I want to show y'all tonight. Okay, where's my, all right, let's go over here. Let's pull it from here then. Because that's crazy. Now that I want it, where's it at? Let me see. Well, let me do this then. Because I can't pull this up first. So where's that at? Really? Okay, I think I know where it's at. It's over here. So again, I'm not able to check anything, so let me see. Matter of fact, where is that at? Huh? That's crazy. Give me one, hold on, you know what, let me do this. While I'm finding this, because it seems to be trying to hide from me. Like it don't want to come out. So just give me this song, this little 2-minute version.
Bro to her.
We hear so much about the slavery. 300 years ago our grandfathers were slaves, or 200 years ago our grandfathers were slaves. Well, for God's sakes, did we have anything to do with that? I had no part in it. I had no slaves. My folks didn't. My grandparents didn't. Are they blaming us for what happened 3 years ago? Let's forget the past. Think of the future. Build up the future. And why keep hemming and hawing over the same thing over and over and over again? And they say, you must give me land because my grandfather was a slave. Well, then I would say, for God's sakes, find the man who had your grandfather as a slave and then demand the land from him. Don't bother me because I have no part of it.
Across the country, we asked whites whether the main reason Negroes had not made more progress was because of racial discrimination or because Negroes have not worked hard enough. This lawyer expressed a view we heard most often.
We find there is a reluctance upon the part of too many Negroes, particularly among the young, to take the hard and remunerative jobs that must be necessary to earn a living. There is a feeling that for some reason somebody owes them a living.
Just about half of whites in our survey said the Negro has not made more progress because he has not worked hard enough. Only 15% blames discrimination. Some had no opinion.
I feel that they're basically lazy when this summer, for example, opportunity was given to them to better themselves in getting as many jobs as possible in various fields of retail, wholesale, and they don't take the full advantage of accepting the responsibility of going out for these jobs. They feel that they're not good enough for them.
About half of whites agreed with this woman, but Negroes tend to be lazy more than whites. And this woman mentioned another charge against Negroes, that they have low morals.
Their sex problem, let's face it now, how many white people have 10 illegitimate children? Very few. Very few. This seems to be a trend with them. And I often wondered What happens to these here men who follow these children? Are they busy making babies elsewhere, or are they busy in the Civil Rights March yelling for their civil rights?
And 4 out of 10 whites in our survey agreed that Negroes more than whites have low moral standards. However, half or more of whites disagree with some of the views you have just heard. For example, they reject the idea that Negroes are more likely than whites to have low morals. But for the moment, we're concentrating on attitudes opposed to racial integration. In Chicago, we talked with a group of whites who call themselves lower middle class. They are worried about Negroes moving into their neighborhood.
And they are not responsible citizens. Until they live like we are, we don't want them.
I don't want to live with me, to tell you the truth. Whether they take care of them or not, I don't want to live with them. Because they ran away from them. If I wanted to live with them, I wouldn't be paying high taxes like I am. I would have stayed where I was.
More than half of whites in our survey believe Negroes are more likely than whites to run down their own neighborhoods.
In the South, they throw the garbage out of the window and the pigs come and eat it. Here they throw the garbage out of the window and no pigs come and eat it.
In general, are Negroes as civilized as whites? 43% of whites said no, Negroes are not as civilized.
It's this image that he's building. They act like savages, like animals. They kill each other and rape and run. There was a riot, but they didn't burn their own places. They had signs all over. Soul Brother. It made no difference. They robbed, raped, plundered, looted their own people.
What about the way Negroes care for their children? About 1/4 of whites say that Negroes are less likely than whites to take good care of their children.
The colored woman does not take care of her child, doesn't help to educate this child. There's no problem about it. The more children they can have, the more money they get to go out and play the lottery, to get a little more gin, but to take care of their children, put a pair of shoes on them. I blame the mother for not educating her child when they're born, from the day they're born till the day they grow up.
Lower intelligence. 1 out of 4 whites also believe Negro children are more likely to hold back the class.
When you were in school, your mother made sure you did your homework before you went out. A colored child, if mother and father don't care if they ever do their homework.
And I feel that this is why the white child is so much more superior to the colored. And not because the colored child doesn't want to learn. It's because there's nobody behind him pushing him.
Lower intelligence. About 1 white in 7 agrees that Negroes have lower intelligence at birth than whites.
We're not all created equal. And as far as intelligence, there is a little book called Breeding Down, and it says in there where the colored is born with an IQ, not born, but it develops, to 80 plus, and the white is 90 and up.
About half of whites polled said they do not think most fellow whites want the Negro to have equality.
They don't desire an education of our type. They have different music. They have a different way of dressing. They have different schools or different churches. Their religion is different. Everything is different.
Sympathetic to the Negro, 38% of whites said they do not think other whites are sympathetic to the problems of the Negro.
I don't want to help them. I don't want to help them. And I don't want them living next door to me for the simple reason that there might be a lot of nice ones, but I got 4 kids, and I don't want them growing up with colored next door to them. Because it's a proven fact. They grow up, they think nothing of each other, they play together, pretty soon they're in their teens, they start dating, and pretty soon they're married. I don't want my kids marrying a colored person.
We have just heard the views. Many whites who might be against a complete split between the races nonetheless have no desire to see the Negroes come closer than they are now. For example, about half the whites said they would object to housing for Negro families in present all-white neighborhoods. And 4 out of 10 whites say they would object to busing Negro students to better schools. We found when it comes to ways for the Negro to protest for what he wants, most whites are against Negro picketing or boycotting. In fact, against anything other than holding a protest meeting. When Negroes riot in our ghettos, what is to blame? The causes mentioned most often by whites have to do with ghetto conditions. But on the other hand, great numbers of whites say it is largely because of a communist plot, or that it's mostly young kids looking for excitement, or that it's a way for Negroes to steal things and not get caught. More than a third of whites say that when a riot occurs, it would be a good idea for police to shoot one or two rioters as examples to the rest.
Shoot to kill. If they're old enough to violate law, shoot him. If it's my own kid, I'd say shoot him. He deserves it. He should obey the law. If there's laws for us, there's laws for Negroes. Let him start obeying them.
He should be shot. That's the only way we can stop him. I can't see where the policeman has to stand there and just hold his gun in his hand for what? They're breaking the law, aren't they?
To review, what can we conclude about the degrees of white opposition to equality and integration for the Negro? About half of the whites in our survey say they do not believe most whites want equality. About one half of whites deny that discrimination is the main reason for holding back the Negro. About one half of whites say they do not want Negro families moving into all-white neighborhoods. What about feelings of superiority to the Negro? About 14% of whites say that whites are born innately superior to Negroes, and about 43% of whites say the Negro is not as civilized as whites. What about attitudes that may reflect a degree of white hostility? About one-third of whites believe that one or two rioters, and rioters today for the most part means Negro, should be shot as an example to the rest, meaning immediate punishment without due process of law, contrary to American tradition.
Okay. All right. So, did you hear that? Did you hear that? See, for those who might be a little younger out here, and those who are older out here, especially if you're younger, this ain't kind of the knowledge you're going to get from most people. Most people are not going to have this kind of conversation with you. We're going to act as if like, if that what you just seen is, say, the 50s and the 60s. And again, remember, I was just talking about 1965. Black people are just voting. Again, let's get this right. In 1965, or the 64 Voting Right Act, is the first time black people are voting. Okay? To where we are today is what, 54 years? Do you expect black people to be politically astute in politics? Because at a certain period of time in this country, especially if you went to a public school system, they didn't have political science. They start cutting that, where they weren't teaching civics in the public school systems. So by the time them 80s rolling around, civics is pretty much not taught in the public school systems, right? So to see today that sister who won in Massachusetts, right, and you're seeing sprinkles here and there, is because now what's happening is we're starting to get involved in understanding and learning the game. This is why when you look back in history, when they say they didn't want you to read, to know, is because, again, if you're so inferior, let me put it to you like this. Let's say I'm hooping, I'm playing ball. I'm the baddest nigga in the hood. Am I worried about any motherfucker that ain't got no skill to play against me? I wouldn't give a fuck what you could do. You couldn't hoop against me. You understand? I got more skills, got more game than you, probably got more hops, more speed, more IQ. It wouldn't matter what you could do. So if you inferior, ain't nothing you could do to a superior person. So ain't no need for me to. You can get all what you need. It ain't gonna help you, right? It's a scrub on the squad versus the star on the squad. Do he worry about him not starting? No, he don't. But obviously there has to be something in you that knows that there's something in them that they have what it takes to compete with me. But I have to make sure that I have to make all disadvantages of you. So going back to what I said earlier about thus 65, and then looking at the people, let's say baby boomers, and say that they dropped the ball and the elders didn't do what they're supposed to do. Now, again, because of that migration, that those who left from the South and came to the so-called North, or came to the cities, Midwest and so forth, in the East, and some even also went to the West, they still had a foundation of the South. And then they migrated out into those areas of those other cities. So just like today, how you have social media, you could pretty much be anybody who you want, and somebody don't even have to know who you are. So just imagine those people who had innate hatred of themselves of being black. You know, again, we've been in this country a long time. A lot of indoctrination has happened. And so people have self-inflicted hatred towards one another. And so a lot of our people are passing. Matter of fact, if you go back, when I did back on, I think it was on the 22nd, I did that video where I showed you that J. Edgar Hoover was actually passing. He's not a white man. He was actually a black man, passing as a white man. And nobody hate worse than a nigga hating another nigga. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they don't hate us, but when we hate, to, you know, what Cube say, black police showing out for the white cop, you understand? That's what be happening. And so that hatred be so deep to try to prove themselves to be accepted that they do all kinds of shit, right? So that migrational period set up new ways that people went and they were in these areas. Now they had to learn this new territory under this new kind of massa, right? And this new kind of game. And that game kind of broke us up in the pursuit of trying to extend ourselves. And again, there was actually the industrial aspect for people getting factories and making a living and so forth, but all that got undercut. But looking at, we just started voting in 65 or 64, 54 years. We have not been really in that game. And we still to this day are not really astute in it. We really don't look at it as really something for us to really benefit from. But we're starting to see sprinkles of our people starting to pop up here, first here. We're still talking about the first in the 2018. We're still talking about the first. You understand? So if you're young and you should be hearing this, understand, our people just getting in that game. We ain't been in this game all this damn time. And don't let nobody fool you and tell that. See, because they're not going to tell you this. And a lot of you are not going to actually listen to those who are elders. Now, again, not every elder is going to have the wisdom and knowledge and articulation to actually speak to you. But they got an innate experience. And see, a lot of you try to downplay that because you try to think that you got the game down packed. You got the blueprint because you're in the technological area. But let me tell you something. When you had to get up and go to the library, search books, you didn't have somebody who had a book list and you just kind of went on the cover where the book was, you know, that kind of shit. And you went as you went on. Now, that's for those people who did that. And that's not for everybody, but some people who did that. You understand? Whether now you could go to Google, Wikipedia, when it's kind of at the fingertips. But the difference is you still don't know what you're looking for. Now, that's why those people who are coming out of Generation X, which is the end of the old school and the beginning of the new school. I'm going to say that again. Generation X, which is they saying 65. Again, we talking about 65 with the voting. That's why you're seeing a lot of people who are now in them late 40s, 50s are really pretty much the ones that you're going to be looking for if you're going to get any mentoring. That's where it's going to come from. See, that's why when you look at in the 80s and you look at hip hop and look at what hip hop was consciously compared to where it is now, that's because that was Generation X. Generation X is the one who came after baby boomers, who were the ones who came after what the ancestors, or I won't say the ancestors, the baby boomers, and not all baby boomers were participants. There was a lot of people who was against what a lot of them were doing. If you just happen to be beneficial or benefiting from having people in your family who participated and who was doing those things, then you were blessed. If not, then you have to be in this day and time, because again, I told you Hiroshima and Nagasaki Saki in the 80s blew a bomb. So that's why a lot of you either had, you know, people who could not because they got caught up in the game, whether they was dealing the game or using the game, right? And so a lot of people end up not getting this to be inculcated in them to understand what took place. So Mr. Blows Your Mind is here to do that. That's what I'm still here for. To be able to connect them dots, to tell you what they won't tell you, and most people are afraid to say openly. I'm just going to present what the facts is. Hate me for what I bring the facts. This is who you are. You can be mad all you want. I don't give a fuck. It is what it is. So when you looked at this video I just displayed here, you heard them say some things in here that should have been kind of like, wait a minute. Now, if these people are coming out of 60, 65, right, 50, 60, 65, and look at the way they're talking. This is somebody's grandmama today. They not so much great-grandmama. This is grandmama and them talking of certain people. You get what I'm saying? So how does grandmama, who if some of you still got your grandmama, and some of you who might be grandmamas, granddaddies, and so forth, that's, you know, well, I gotta say great-grandma, because again, Generation X is now moving into the grandparent stages now. So baby boomers are becoming great and great-great. So let's say that's great-grandmama or grandmama. Could be, depending on, you know, they was getting it in early or whatever. So if that be the case, so how if grandmama and then mama and then you, that ain't that far away. So how can anybody say that the racial tension and the racial shit of that particular time is still not prevalent and strong today? And you want to say because you put in a person who represented a people and put him in the office to run masses business, that everything good. Tell me how that work. Don't nothing change over like that. They say a leopard don't change its spot. And matter of fact, what making you change? The only game in town is law. Law is the only game that they adhere to, and they don't even really adhere to that. So let's look at some of the stuff that was said. How the reason why they have problems with you. See, today they would never do that kind, because again, they say, we're not like that. That's in the past. Remember, like she was saying, she said, here we are so much, we hear so much about slavery. Remember you heard her say that? Here's so much, we just keep hearing so much about slavery. 300 years ago, my grandparents, for God's sakes, we had nothing to do with that. Right? This is the mantra everybody like to keep saying. We had nothing to do with that. We just the beneficiaries of what took place. We collect the inheritance, but guess what? I got nothing to do with that. And because that happened to you, why don't you get over it? Really? So if we was to go to a courtroom and watch cases, and they had people in there for theft, robbery, larceny, murder, is there any statute of limitations? Does it run out? Or because you were not let's say you were not the culprit, but you are accessory to the crime, are you still bipartisan guilty? You may not be, like you've been in the car when somebody doing a stain and you happen to be there, you get away, and motherfucker trick, you going too, right? You going too. You may not get as much time, but you still going to be culpable to the crime. So you don't want to hear about it is because why? You would rather for us look and say the dysfunctionalness and the detriment that you see amongst our people is natural to us. They all say, I had no slaves. My folks didn't have no slaves. My grandparents didn't have no slaves. And matter of fact, that happened over 300 years ago. Let's forget about the past, she said, and focus on the future. Well, how's that possible? Tell me how that's possible. You know that they gave at a particular time. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I got still people here. That's good. That's good. I'm loving that. You know, there was a. They gave something at that particular time, right? Let me show it to you on the screen. Let me show it to y'all. Let me see if I can pull this up to you. Hold on. They gave at that particular time. Let me put it. Let me show it to y'all. See up there on the screen where it says the Homestead Act, right? The Homestead Act, where several laws in the United States by which an applicant could acquire ownership of government land or the public domain, typically called a homestead. In all, more than 270 million acres of public land, or nearly 10% of the total area of the United States, was given away free to 1.6 million homesteaders. Most of the homesteads were west of the Mississippi River. An extension of the homestead principle in law, the Homestead Act was an expression of the free soil policy of Northerners who wanted individual farmers to own and operate their own farms, as opposed to Southern slave owners who wanted to buy up large tracts of land and use slave labor, thereby shutting out free white farmers. The first of the act, the Homestead Act of 1862, opened up millions of acres. Listen to this. Any adult who had never taken up arms against the United States government could apply. I'm going to say that again. Any adult who had never taken up arms against the United States government could apply. Women and immigrants who had applied for citizenship were eligible. The 1866 Act explicitly included black Americans and encouraged them to participate, but rampant discrimination slowed black gain. I'm going to say that again. But rampant discrimination slowed blacks' gains. Historian Michael Lanza argues that which the 1866 law pact was not as beneficial as it might have been, it was part of the reason that by 1900, 1/4 of all Southern black farmers owned their own farms. I'll read the last part to it. Several additional laws were enacted in the latter half of the 19th and 20th century. The Southern Homestead Act of 1866 sought to address land ownership inequalities in the South during Reconstruction. The Timber Culture Act of 1873 granted land to a claimant who was required to plant trees. The tract could be added to an extension homestead claim and had no residency requirements. The Kincaid Amendment of 1904 granted a full section, 640 acres, to new homesteaders settling in Western Nebraska. An amendment to the Homestead Act of 1862, the Enlargement Homestead Act, was passed in 1909 and doubled the allotted acreages to 162,320 acres. Okay? Another act of the national stock raising. Okay, we don't have to go on that because I got nothing to do with this. Now, did you catch the fact on that? The fact was that was in 1862 when they originally did the Homestead Act, right? Let me take that off the screen for y'all. Okay, so in 1862, what was your status? What was your status in 1862? You were still considered documentally, lawfully a slave. So here they was, right before they about to let you go, they was giving out land, free land. So they reinstituted it in 1866, right? But now we under Reconstruction, right? And they making it so hard for you that most of our people couldn't get it because they didn't even have money to even pay for the application fee. So here's black Americans who were at a time when the government was claiming to be given free land, and the requirements, even a woman, and even if you were an immigrant, you could get it. So here's black Americans today suffering for the fact they don't got land. They had to be dependent. They can't, and everybody say they lazy. But we don't want to look at history and look at the fact that let's go back and look at and see what every time that you was, again, give what the old saying say, give a nigga an inch, he'll take a foot, give a nigga a foot, he take a yard, right? Well, that's what they do. They give you some shit, but they taking a foot back up, or they taking 12 of it back. So in the end, you ain't really getting shit. It's just, it sounds good. It's Emancipation Proclamation is nothing but a fucking announcement. I'm gonna say that again. Emancipation Proclamation was nothing more but a goddamn announcement. It was never law. It's not law, right? It was just a fucking announcement, right? So it was just the announcement that the transfer of those who used to own you in the South, the ones in the North are now going to own you. Ain't that what happened? Isn't that what really happened? Now, let's go on some more about what was said in that video. So that's the Homestead Act. You can look that up. Do your research on it if you didn't know. Now, again, they'll say some stuff like that woman of that time. She said that you should just go. Those people who keep talking and harping on the fact that you are descendants of slaves and that you should have been given land. She said, well, quit bothering us and go find the people who did it. Huh? It sound good, right? That sound good to them when they saying that. They think they saying something slick and smart, and they're like, all you have to do is just find them. And then when you find them, tell them to get, like, see, always telling us take responsibility, but you don't want responsibility for cause and effect. Everybody wants to look at the effect of the people today without looking at what was the cause of the creation of the effect that you see today. You see today the dysfunctionness and the rampantness of, you want to talk about morals and all. You want to talk, just like you seen that Reverend at the Aretha Franklin funeral say what he said. Now, people going to be split on how they look at it, because certain people going to look at it as, yes, because see, you can always look at yourself and see, yeah, we black people doing this, but yeah, black people always, but you ain't looking at the cause. That's the one thing I noticed with a lot of black people who sit out here who be talking. You so quick to put it on us. Yes, I only like saying Pookie and Ray Ray because that shit crazy to me, but we gonna just use that hypothetically. Pookie and Ray Ray, right? Out here doing what they doing. They just a byproduct of the environment, of the causation of a problem that had been started before they even got here. Do I need to say that again? Now, some people say, well, you just taking the onus off them. You got to be responsible for your own thing. If I'm living at this time and I'm not doing it, well, again, some people are born and some people are raised. You might be lucky to have been raised. You had parents who didn't get caught up again out of the 80s. They didn't get caught up. They went through the obstacles. And they kept their same mind. They didn't touch the bullshit. They didn't went into all that materialism and all that bullshit. And they went to, try to do school, or they just worked or whatever, and they try to maintain. They didn't get caught. But what about the ones that got caught in that net? And that was a big-ass net. You understand? So some of these people are just birthed with no kind of rearing. And some people just byproducts of that shit. And some people just the byproducts of their own choice because they choose to do other things. And school ain't for everybody. Let's stop that bullshit. School ain't for everybody. And education ain't really about what it is anyway. That's another topic for another a video or another show. But it ain't all what they cracked that up to be. Because they about to show you in a minute that your diploma didn't really mean nothing, because they see where we're heading, where we're trying to get into, so they finna cut all that out. Remember, I told you right here. All right, so what else would I want to get in? Okay, so find the people and give it to you. Well, guess what? Again, history has told you, reason why when you do a DNA test and go back, you can only go back so far. And you wonder, why is that? Well, if my people been here for almost next year, if we're going to go with the 1619 of Virginia story, 400 years is going to be next year. I already did the anniversary 399 when I came back. That was really on the anniversary of that. So next year going to be 400. So in the 400 year span that you've been here, why is that if you're doing DNA tests, you can only go back to about 1700? Where's the rest of your records? As a matter of fact, can't even go to 1700. I'm up here probably only 18. You're lucky you get 17 again because we're going to be connecting and we're going to have to cross over and we're going to have to count other people because of our name that these are our family members. But again, they want us to also believe that every white man raped every sister that was enslaved. That's what they want us to believe. The reason why some of us is mocha, light skin, and caramel is because miscegenation of raping. That's what they want you to believe. He ain't get everybody. They ain't everybody. That's just some natural copper color that is just residing in us. It's not all that miscegenation and raping. It did happen. Don't get me wrong, though. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just going to say it ain't all of that. That's not all of it. So if what happened is the fact that if you know that they burnt down that White House twice and tore up all the records, that's why they can't go back, because you got to remember the original mother who brought you here is not the mother who got you, afterwards. Right? When you understand the Confederacy and where it originated in the 13 colonies and how they got them charters and them colonies, it ain't the same people who got you later when they talk about 1789. You get what I'm saying? That's why you got to do your history. So I'll feed you so much, but you're going to have to do some research. And it's incumbent on you to get out here to know this. See, everybody else on these other channels, they talking about all kinds of stuff. And let me give you another thing. My numbers ain't going to never look high, y'all, because listen to what I'm talking about. It's incumbent on you to spread what I'm talking about. If you think what I'm talking about is worthy to be done, they're not going to do it. My videos sit there. I got videos that sit for years. And matter of fact, I get to see the analytical. I know people saying, but they're not going to show them numbers. They didn't want this kind of talk. See, I'm a rarity. Rarity. You ain't not going to find too many brothers that's going to be able to do. I'm not saying like I'm just telling you, nobody going to come in here and talk to you like this. They're not going to do it. They act like this is something like to be scared and tell. You just telling the facts. A motherfucker gonna be mad at me for giving the fucking facts, then he just gonna have to be fucking mad. But you got to know. Whether you old or young, it don't matter. You got to know. So the point is, go find the motherfucker and get your shit back. Well, OJ tried that shit too, right? Then OJ go get his own shit and still end up going to jail for 33 damn years for stealing his own shit. So obviously it wasn't his shit, even though he said it was his shit, but it wasn't his shit. You get what I'm saying? So that whole argument or that little rendition that she gave was nonsense. We can't find them in if it's 1960, we're already 100 years from emancipation, and you still got to go back because all you got is a name, but the name you still can't find out who, because y'all can act like, well, that's, again, you all saying, my family, it wasn't me, and I don't know why. So how you supposed to do that? How you supposed to do that? I would love to do a damn poll today. Could you imagine the poll today? It ain't going to sound nothing like them. See, that's the one thing. See, a lot of people, you don't like Donald Trump, but I'd rather have that motherfucker that tell me straight up than the motherfucker that smile in my face and pat me in the back and all that shit and stabbing you in your motherfucking back. When you prefer to have that kind, you may not like his policy, but at least the motherfucker tell you who he is and what he's about. At least you know how to... You get what I'm saying? So, okay, then it says, the blacks have the notion to think that somebody owes them something. That white Motherfucker, he looked like that nigga got a sheet on his motherfucking head. He looked like he's that tight. Blacks have the notion to think that somebody owed them something. Ain't that a bitch? After we done built you the greatest motherfucking country you claim in the world. But you didn't do it. But you say you don't owe them shit. Well, you know why you don't say you don't owe them nothing? Let me tell y'all. Let me tell a little trick. The trick of mine that they got. Trick of mine is this. We freed you. When Lincoln freed you, that was the payment. So you can still be in that condition. Right? You can still be in that condition this day. Like that one, I would play it. Because I'll play it in one of my breaks. I will play that during one of my breaks. One woman that said, I thank God for slavery. Y'all heard that damn woman say that shit. I thank God for slavery. Yeah. She could have been somewhere in Africa on a tree. See, look at that. Look at that. That's programming. That you would think like that. Like, wait a minute. You watched all them Tarzan ass movies and all that bullshit, and you think that all the thing niggas could do was be naked and swinging a tree and eating bananas and shit? I mean, we have several. If we want to take the history of Africa, if you want to even call Africa, because I actually get in that and I would debate that too, and I kind of disagree with that too. But again, just for sometimes when you just want to speak in generalities, you just gonna say what people know. So to say Africa, right, and the civilizations that had been built. Matter of fact, did y'all see on the news about what happened in Rio Janeiro? I know it's in South America. Remember, the museum just burnt down. And all the artifacts that was in that museum was our shit. I'm going to say that again. All the shit that was in that museum that burnt tonight or yesterday was our ancestral shit. It was all Egypt and Africa stuff. But guess what? You know damn well it didn't burn up. That was for motherfuckers to steal. What they did is it was already supposed to be enclosed. So what they did, they gutted it out, moved all the shit out, and then all of a sudden a fire happens. Now the funny shit to the thing is, the fire hydrants that was right next to the motherfuckers didn't work. So the motherfucking fire truck had to go way down to go get the motherfucking water, which made the motherfucker burn it. So when they get in there, they say, oh, the shit done burnt up. It's all burnt. No, motherfucker stole the motherfucking shit, again, to get the shit for inheritance for their prosperity that's coming. You understand? Motherfucker getting desperate. Time's going to be hard. So people looking at ways how to stack their papers in, you know, what they would call assets, right? So that's what that little game is. Just a little information on the side about some stuff that did happen. You can look that up. I think it was Rio de Janeiro. I think it was, but I know it's in South America. It just happened. I was looking at it before I got on tonight. So that cat gonna sit there talking about we owe. We done built. We are the byproducts. We are the prosperity of that. Why the young people feel today that they ain't nobody giving them no inheritance and they drop the ball is because you never inherit anything from any of the work that any of your people have done. And so you don't look at that because you say, well, that's too far back. Well, damn shit, that's interest. Let your ass have a credit card that you don't pay. Let you have a student loan your ass don't pay. Huh? They put that interest on that ass and they don't give a fuck how long it takes for your ass to get it. You pay that little bit that you're supposed to owe, but that interest going to accrue. That's why nobody wants to deal with us. The interest alone, you couldn't pay us. You couldn't pay us on the interest of our money. That's why everybody say, y'all ain't supposed to be getting no money. Y'all ain't supposed to be getting no damn reparations. For what? They freed you. And everybody come over here with the same notion. Because again, most of you came from pot liquor motherfuckers. We come from the greatest people that built this motherfucker, that the motherfucker, this world power. That's who we are. We come from them. We come from them. And you gonna look at us like we ain't shit? And we do everything to try to make a motherfucker please and try to, we ain't gotta do all that. You already know who you is. That's why they're scared of you. Because there ain't nothing that you didn't put your mind to that you couldn't do. We excel in the natural God gift because they don't got that. Of course a nigga could dunk on a white boy all day. Guess a nigga could run 245 yards in the game on him. That's natural. That's easy. But he don't want you to develop that damn mind, because then that's why he couldn't go to school with you. Because he would have had to sit in the classroom, and then he would recognize that as smart as he wants to believe himself to be, but if he got to see you on a daily basis, he would find out he may not be as smart as he thought he was. If you got the same update, the same knowledge, the same curriculum, with the same teaching, with the same understanding, that's at the beginning of the race. On your march, to get set, let's go. He don't want that. He want on your march, but he running already. Get set, he already down 2 miles away. Go. He already got you. The race is almost over. Now he talking about let's go. That's kind of shit he want to run. So talking about somebody owes something, please. You know what it is. He says also in that video, they said that the lack of Negroes making progress says that we ain't made no progress. We don't work hard enough. That's why we haven't progressed, is because we haven't worked hard enough. Well, goddamn, how much more you want us to do? We built the motherfucking greatest country on the planet. What else you want them to do? What else you want them to do? I know what you want them to do. You want them to just die because you don't want to deal with that. You would rather allow them with all the secret. Now, I mean, this video will be real long if I really got into if I went into all the facets of showing how this shit, how it works, and how you stealthily and sneakily do it. This video will be extremely long, so I'm not going to do all that. But that might who be hearing me. He knows. They know. She knows. See, redlining, all that shit. That's intricate parts of stagnating progress. You stagnate the progress, and then you say, "But you haven't progressed." Ain't that a bitch? Motherfucker know he doing some shit to you. It's like a motherfucker cheating you. You can't win, but you ain't figuring out how to okay, 3-car molly. You remember that shit back in the day? They had the 3 caps and had a little ball and shit. I remember one time I was gonna go see my people down in South Carolina. I think I had enough money, motherfucker, on the ticket, and I think I had a little bit money to get through, maybe go to Atlanta or something with Burger King, a couple stops. I think I had enough money to get a couple of stops before I go see parents, grandparents and stuff, right? So I seen the niggas on the train. Niggas got the ball and shit. I'm like, oh shit. I'm watching. Motherfucker doing that 3-car, that shit. I'm peeping that shit like, all right. Every time I was like, oh, I'm picking the ball and shit. Not knowing these motherfuckers is all together. This is a motherfucking scheme, right? I'm young at this time, y'all. But see, that's how you learn from shit. So I went over there. I'm putting 20 a pop. Nigga caught me for the first 20. I'm like, fuck that shit, nigga. So now I figured the shit out. The board that the motherfucker got, he got a little crease in it. So he folded his hand just enough to move the ball and go to the other motherfucking cap when I was picking the motherfucking ball. See? He ran game on me. See, I didn't understand the way he was doing this shit was the design that the way he was cheating. Until I figured later on, I figured out, and that's what's happening now. We done figured out how the fuck all the shit you've been doing to it. We figured out how you moving the ball now. So you ain't gonna want to reparate us now, is because if you give us the money now, we know what the fuck to do. Cause see that shit that Chappelle did with that motherfucking show, talking about well niggas gonna all buy Cadillac. Sure, some of us gonna take the money and fuck it off. We know that shit, but not all of us. And the ones that won't fuck it off, we gonna be able to do some shit with that money, and we gonna be like, we ain't got the fuck. We'll say, motherfucker, I ain't fucking with you. You little stupid motherfucker, I ain't fucking with you. Right? You know what I'm saying? We're going to be able to do that. And they say, no. This is a relationship to the end. If we can't have you, can't nobody have you. That's the kind of relationship you in. If we can't have you, nobody going to have you. I'll run your ass raggedy and run your ass into the ground before I allow you to go and expand yourself and become independent and then be greater than me. I'll never let you do that. What kind of relationship is that, boy? That's some Kathy Bates shit. That's that Misery Love Company shit. Hobble you, break your shit so you can't get away, but tell you, Paul, but I love you. But I love you, Paul. Right? Remember that shit in Misery? But I love you, Paul. Like, shit. Get your ass out of here with that shit. Should I take a break or should I go ahead and keep elaborate on this? Because that motherfucking video, because there was a lot in that bullshit. And I got more videos to go. He also goes on and says that the reluctance of the part of too many Negroes that we all keep thinking you owe us something. I feel they are lazy. The lady, that little white woman said, I feel that they're lazy. That's what she said. I feel that they're lazy. She says, when opportunity for them to get as many jobs, like this some hey man shit. For y'all, it might be too young. But back in the day, remember, if you see Living Colors and shit, remember the hey man was me, motherfucker. Every time somebody died in the paper, say, hey man's another job. Motherfucker was always running to get a job. I think it was kind of making fun of the Jamaicans and shit. But hey man is the kind of shit talking about, well, they act like they too good. They could just get as many jobs and then they could suffice themselves. Why the fuck wait a minute. I remember one time, going back, when a man could have the job, the woman could stay home because the job was sufficient enough to take care of the bills and do all that shit. But motherfucker got greedy in this land. He got real greedy. So the price and shit went up. So it got to the point that one person can't do it. It take two people to do it. Right? And then they still ain't really got no money because then inflation and all that shit. So motherfuckers is killing themselves. And see, that's why a lot of they people is dying. Because see, it's hard being white. See, black, we've been black. So we kind of know it's against some of you new ones. Y'all don't know what it is. You're going to learn though. But them, hard being white, man. Trying to live up to a hype that, you trying to live up to that? All of them ain't got that. And a lot of people try to put them in the category like they do, but a lot of them don't got it. That's why see, who's their biggest competitor? China? Who you think probably slipping that opium in their ass? Who slipped the opium in China's ass first? Get what I'm saying? No history. Who slipped the heroin on who first and fucked their country up? Right? Fucked them up, took over their country, selling them opium, taking out all their resources. They had to go through a revamp. They had to go clean up what they could clean up and killed the rest of them and then start from scratch. Now the motherfuckers is back, world power, about to take over all kind of shit. And you think they forgot about what happened to them? Always telling us forget about the past? Everybody, every nation is about their history. Let me say that shit again. Every nation is about their history. What you commemorating holidays for if they don't do it? Huh? What would be the purpose of that? So they all do it. So ain't that a bitch? 49% of the people of that time said we didn't work hard enough. 53% said we was lazy. 40% said we had low morals. Right? Well, I guess you would too. If, somebody had you in a motherfucking cage and didn't allow you to get out and get no air. And again, that's just an analogy I'm using. Even though some people say, well, we have successful black people. I'm not saying you're going to have some. I mean, you would be a fool to not think that to take some of the choices, people who are intelligent, but you're going to bring them in to help me make my shit run better. That's what the Matrix was telling you with that battery. Remember when you talking about that battery? That's what you are, a fucking battery to this shit. All you here to do is to make my shit run. Some of you, I will separate you. This is where this classism gonna come in. It's status gonna come in. So I'm gonna bring you up, give you a little title compared to the rest of them. You're gonna feel a little something. You're gonna feel some kind of way, and they're gonna make you feel like you can stiff arm a motherfucker because I'm better than you. See, you fell for the game. You fell for the okie doke. Now you think you in. But see, in a minute, everybody finna be back on that boat. Everybody gonna be there. I don't give a fuck what position you had. They trying to put us all back in that motherfucking boat. From the motherfucker who you think that got the carrot to the motherfucker who ain't got a carrot. You feel what I'm saying? Because again, prosperity is, again, they already got a doom date said that if they don't do something by a certain particular time, if they don't get their numbers up and get their prosperity of their children, They don't need no interference. This is why they doing all the shit. Y'all know I did that video, man. Don't you know that video spread so much that that's what you hear most people talking about when they talk about what they do? Thanks to Mr. Blows Your Mind. It was me. It was me that put that out there. See, once they said a nigga knew that shit, they was in trouble. It was okay when they was talking about it, but when a nigga started talking about it, it was going to break it down and articulate it. It was like, oh, that's a problem. They know. They bring fear to motherfuckers, right? So they got scared. They get scared because they think we going to do something to them. We ain't trying to do shit. We just trying to live right now. Huh? That's what we trying to do. But you making the shit. You squeezing the motherfucking, you squeezing the grape in the wine press. You trying to make this motherfucker bleed. And shit, motherfucker ain't trying to live like that. You understand? Getting to the point that most people, the youngers, you trying to go to school. If your parents ain't got no money, how you going to do it when, you got to be the poor to even get the Pell Grant now these days, right? Your parents can't be making no kind of little bit of money to get that Pell Grant. So now loans, that's even hard. You don't want that shit. Come on. So again, going back to the point. So the older white woman gonna talk about some sex problems that the black men are having. Talking about they just going around having babies. You don't see no white man with 10 illegitimate children out of wedlock. You know why? Because they was killing their babies before we was killing our babies. I'm gonna say that shit again. It was killing their babies before we was killing our babies. We used to thought that was the most immoral shit to do at once upon a time. But see, Becky was always looking around the other way. And she fuck up and slip up and get some of that, and she got pregnant. And she couldn't come home and have that black baby. So what they're doing, they were sticking coat hangers in their ass. They was doing all that shit. That's what all that birth control, that Planned Parenthood was for that. But then it swung over to about, well, let's get this could be used for this over here and get them out the way. But they was killing their babies. Matter of fact, what do you think all them homes, when they were putting their children in them foster cares, and when their children came out what they call illiform, when they were illiform, they would put them, what do you think all them institutions came from? That was them. See, a nursing home, throwing your people and throw them in a nursing home. We used to take, old school way was they died in the house. They stayed in the house. We can't do that these days. Because why? The way people struggling. Shit, people can't afford to do all that. But that's the way it used to be. But again, you became more Americanized. And so you took on the ways of that who was oppressing you. And now that's what you doing. Right? Let's see. Man, I need some water, y'all. I'm going to have to take a 2-minute break. Play y'all this, man, right quick. I'm thankful for y'all sitting out here and listening to a brother. Check this out. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. All right, I'm going to go through the whole 2 minutes because I got to finish out what I was doing. And then when nobody walk out. So again, they say we're not responsible citizens. to think, what she said, not responsible citizens, we don't want to live around them. They're not responsible and we don't want to live around them. Is that really the reason why white people don't like living around black people? And let's clear this myth out too, because this is a myth too. They ask you a question. If black people who don't own and live in a community that they don't own the property, then who owns the property that black people live in? Ask yourself that. And when you come to find out who the people that own it, how come them people don't have to put no money into them places that they own, that they collect and rent in? Why they had to keep them living in? So you say, well, black people, well, everybody kind of, litters, and they had they have streets of sanitation and stuff like that. But you go in some of these cities where the streets is all tore up because why? Ain't no property taxes being allocated for you to keep the upkeep of that, right? It's not mandatory to do it, to keep it in a certain way. They will do it eventually, but it's not something that they always are looking to do. So you put the onus on that the conditions of the community that black people live in is them. They're nothing but renters. If they renting, and I'm not saying that black people don't own homes. I'm not saying they don't, or that we don't own homes. I'm saying that a majority, probably there's more of us who rent than there's probably more than us that own. So that when we live in these areas and communities that looked and dilapidated like that, is due to the people who own those properties, who don't put no money into those properties, who don't put no upkeep on them properties. But you put the onus on the black people. Look how they run down and make the property value go down. It's because you are fucking slumlords. Fucking slumlords. Let's keep that shit 100. You're slumlords. You don't put no money in this shit. But you want to put the shit on us. You want to say, we not doing shit. It's always we, but never you. Right? A few more points and go on. One of them said about black IQ. She read a book, right? She read some book that told her that, well, black people have an IQ or develop an IQ when they're 80. It gets to about 80, but white people have an IQ of 90 or above. Really? You believe that shit? You think black people going to develop only up to 80, right? Because again, I get it. You got an empire and you running it as a nation. You're going to build your nation according to you and your people. I get it. But that don't mean that there ain't been no black geniuses. Oh, we'll tell somebody he's a genius in music. He's a genius in basketball, but never for that brain. Why? Why you can be a genius with a basketball, you can be a genius with music, but you can't be a genius when it comes to, like, well, again, we know why, because you handicap them. If you don't pay for your education and you take the education that is given, the general education, well, you probably ain't gonna get too many geniuses out of that. Not when you're 100 years behind in the education that they're giving you. I guess you wouldn't be. You can be an A student in there, and then when you go somewhere else, you find out you're a C student, right? That kind of shit. So, but you put that on there, you're talking about IQ. Now, IQ, that's some shit y'all made up, right? That's some shit they made up. How do you really measure someone's IQ, especially when the test has to be constructed and formulated and has an aim to it? So there's some biasness in that. That's like some people who think that when you do the DNA test, like, okay, science, you say science don't lie, right? Science means to know. So science don't lie, but that don't mean that the people who constructing that which you are, let's say, researching or what you are trying to learn to do, that they haven't manipulated to give you the outcome they want and not teach you certain shit so you don't get the other part to the equation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or do I think that was crazy talk? Because a lot of people go with that. They think, well, you hear people on these some of these channels, they argue with the fact, oh, the science is double. No, the people who constructed the institution lie, though. That don't mean they're going to give you all the ins and outs. The only way you would ever, let me say it again, the only way you won't ever understand that unless you have somebody funding you so you can do the research and thoroughly, go through all the processes to get a real understanding. Until then, all you regurgitating is what they told you.